Welcome to this YouTube channel. In this video we are going to talk about top 10 Iranian poets. So before starting this video, like this video, and subscribe to this channel for future updates. Number 10. Anvari. Anvari, full name Auhad Ali Kavarani, or Auhad Ali Anvari, was born in Abavad, now in Turkmenistan, and died in Balkh, Khorasan, now in Afghanistan. He studied science and literature at the Collegiate Institute in Tun, now Ferdowsi, Iran, becoming a famous astronomer as well as a poet. Anvari's poems were collected in a diwan, and contains panegyrics, eulogies, satire and others. His elegy Tears of Khorasan, translated into English in 1789, is considered to be one of the most beautiful poems in Persian literature. The Cambridge History of Iran calls Anvari one of the greatest figures in Persian literature. Despite their beauty, his poems often required much help with interpretation, as they were often complex and difficult to understand. Anvari's panegyric in honor of the Seljuk Sultan, Sultan Sunja, 1117–1157, ruler of Khorasan, won him royal favor, and allowed him to go on to enjoy the patronage of two of Sunja's successors. However, when his prophecy of disasters in October 1185 failed, he fell out of favor with the kingship, and was forced into a life of scholarly service, eventually taking his own life in 1189. Number 9. Sanai. Hakim Majdud Sanai Ghaznavi, more commonly known as Sanai, was a Persian poet from Ghazni who lived his life in the Ghaznavid Empire of Iran at the time of its golden age in medieval Khorasan. He was born in 1080 and died between 1131 and 1141. Sanai was an Iranian poet. He was connected with the court of the Ghaznavid Bahram Shah, who ruled 1117 to 1157. Number 8. Rudaki. Abdullah Jafar Rudaki, better known as Rudaki and also known as Adam of Poets, was a Persian poet regarded as the first great literary genius of the modern Persian language. Rudaki composed poems in the modern Persian alphabet, and is considered a founder of classical Persian literature. His poetry contains many of the oldest genres of Persian poetry, including the quatrain. However, only a small percentage of his extensive poetry has survived. As it seems, Rudaki was the first person to combine different roles that were yet distinguishable in titles in the 9th century royal court: musician, poet and declaimer, reciter and copyist. Number 7. Baba Tahir. Baba Tahir, or Baba Tahir Orion Hamadani, was an 11th century dervish poet from Hamadan, Iran, who lived during the reign of Tughril of the Seljuk dynasty over Iran. This is almost all that is known of him, as he lived a mysterious lifestyle. Although prefix Baba, roughly meaning the wise or the respected, has been thought, as part of his name in all known sources, his nickname Orion, meaning the naked, did not appear until about 17th century. His nickname was probably attributed to him, because he seemed to lead a very spiritual and stoic lifestyle, and thus was figuratively not clothed with worldly and material needs. His poetry is written in the Hamadani dialect of the Persian language. According to L.P. Sutton, he probably wrote in the Hamadani dialect, adding, most traditional sources call it loosely Luri, while the name commonly applied from an early date to verses of this kind, Falaviat, presumably implies that they were thought to be in a language related to the Middle Persian language. Ruben Abrahamian, however, found a close affinity with the dialect spoken at the present time by the Jews of Hamadan. According to the Cambridge History of Iran, Baba Tahir spoke a certain Persian dialect. Number 6. Jame Noor Rahman Jame, also known as Maulana Noor Rahman, or Rahman Noor Muhammad Dashti, or simply as Jame, and in Turkey as Molla Kami, the 7th of November 1414 to the 9th of November 1492, was a Persian poet who is known for his achievements as a prolific scholar and writer of mystical Sufi literature. He was primarily a prominent poet theologian of the school of Ibn Arabi and a Khwajagani Sufi, recognized for his eloquence and for his analysis of the metaphysics of mercy. His most famous poetic works are Haft Orang, Hadiye Bozorgvar, Layla wa Majnun, Beherstan, Divan of Jami, Duran Talare. Dami belonged to the Naqshbandi Sufi order. Number 5. Rumi. Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi, also known as Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Balkhi Mevlevi, Mawlawi, and more popularly simply as Rumi, the 30th of September 1207 to the 17th of December 1273, was a 13th century Persian poet and Sufi mystic originally from Greater Khorasan in Greater Iran. Rumi's influence transcends national borders and ethnic divisions. Iranians, Tajiks, Turks, Greeks, Pashtuns, other Central Asian Persians, and the Persians of the Indian subcontinent have greatly appreciated his spiritual legacy for the past 7 centuries. His poems have been widely translated into many of the world's languages, and transposed into various formats. Rumi has been described as the most popular poet, and the best-selling poet in the United States after Rumi's works are written mostly in Persian, but occasionally he also used Turkish, Arabic, and Greek in his verse. His Masnavi Maknavi, composed in Konya, is considered one of the greatest poems of the Persian language. His works are widely read today in their original language across Greater Iran, and the Persian-speaking world translations of his works are very popular, most notably in Turkey, Azerbaijan, the United States and South Asia. His poetry has influenced not only Persian literature but also the literary traditions of the Ottoman Turkish, Chagatai, Urdu, Bengali and Pashto languages. Number 4. Ferdowsi. Abul Qasim Ferdowsi Tusi, also Ferdowsi or just Ferdowsi, was a Persian poet and the author of Shahnameh, the Book of Kings, which is one of the world's longest epic poems created by a single poet, and the national epic of Greater Iran. Ferdowsi is celebrated as one of the most influential figures of Persian literature, and one of the greatest in the history of literature. Number 3. Omar Khayyam. Omar Khayyam was a Persian polymath, mathematician, astronomer, philosopher and poet. He was born in Nishapur in northeastern Persia, and was contemporary with the rule of the Seljuks around the time of the First Crusade. As a mathematician, he is most notable for his work on the classification and solution of cubic equations, where he provided geometric solutions by the intersection of conics. Khayyam also contributed to the understanding of the parallel axiom. As an astronomer, he designed the Jalali calendar, a solar calendar with a very precise 33-year intercalation cycle, that provided the basis for the Persian calendar that is still in use after nearly a millennium. There is a tradition of attributing poetry to Omar Khayyam written in the form of quatrains. This poetry became widely known to the English reading world in a translation by Edward Fitzgerald Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, 1859, which enjoyed great success in the Orientalism of the fin de siècle. Number 2. Hafez. Khaja Shamsuddin Muhammad Hafez-e-Shirazi, known by his pen name Hafez, and as Hafez, was a Persian poet whose collected works are regarded by many Iranians as a pinnacle of Persian literature. His works are often found in the homes of people in the Persian-speaking world, who learn his poems by heart and use them as everyday proverbs and sayings. His life and poems have become the subjects of much analysis, commentary and interpretation, influencing post-14th century Persian writing more than any other Persian author. Hafez is best known for his Divan of Hafez, a collection of his surviving poems probably compiled after his death. His works that can be described as antinomian, and with the medieval use of the term theosophical, the term theosophy in the 13th and 14th centuries was used to indicate mystical work by authors, only inspired by the holy books, is distinguished from theology. Hafez primarily wrote in the literary genre of lyric poetry or ghazals, that is the ideal style for expressing the ecstasy of divine inspiration in the mystical form of love poems after he was a Sufi. Number 1. Sadi Shirazi. Muhammad Musla Shirazi, better known by his pen name Sadi. Sadi Shirazi, born 1210, died 1291 or 1292, was a major Persian poet and prose writer of the medieval period. He is recognized for the quality of his writings and for the depth of his social and moral thoughts. Sadi is widely recognized as one of the greatest poets of the classical literary tradition, earning him the nickname the Master of Speech, or the Wordsmith, or simply Master among Persian scholars. He has been quoted in the Western traditions as well. Bustan has been ranked as one of the 100 greatest books of all time by The Guardian. What do you think of our list? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want more videos from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.